this is Comic Conversation. Yeah! Hey! All right, man, it's so good to be back. It's been a while. I grew out all this facial hair. It's wonderful. A lot of things have happened while I've been gone. We've heard some announcements from D23 about Marvel Phase 4 and beyond, and we know that Disney Plus is coming, and it's only a couple of months away, and when that arrives, that means Marvel television shows arise, and I've been seeing some updates for the series I'm most looking forward to, Wandavision. I don't know if everyone feels the same way I do about Wandavision. I don't know if everyone's as excited as me. Joe.
Yep.
Joe.
Hey.
Are you excited for Wandavision?
No.
You're crazy. Get out. Get out. Oh, God, Joe. I think it's going to be great. There's a lot going on. I don't even really know what's going on. We know that there's 6 episodes, 1 hour each. It's leading directly into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We know from Paul Bettany, who was the voice of Jarvis and actually starred in the Avengers films as the Vision. He says that we are going to be pulling from multiple sources for this show. It's not just one particular Vision comic or Avengers comic or Scarlet Witchin. There's a multitude of sources. We also know that Kat Dennings will be back as Darcy from Thor and Thor 2. I don't know how that's happening, like how they even meet. I didn't see that interaction. Was Kat Dennings at the funeral for Iron Man? I don't think so. But she won't be appearing alone. Randall Park will also be coming back, reprising his role as Agent Wu from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and so they're all going to be in the show, and I don't know how they all fit together, but it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. So while I don't know what to expect, I kind of have some hopes for who else I might see, since we're pulling from all of these different areas. Who else are we going to see? I don't know. I'm going to give you the list of people that I hope to see in WandaVision on today's episode of Comic Conversation. Is that too much? It might have been too much. Number 1, Doctor Strange. I just want to knock him out of the way first because I kind of feel like if it's a given that he's going to be in the show. I don't know how much he'll be in the show, but I figure if WandaVision is leading to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it just seems natural that he'll be in there. But Doctor Strange also has a mentor-mentee relationship with Wanda. But I think what really brings the relationships even closer is that in the comic books, Doctor Strange is the one who delivered the children of Tommy and Billy, as we would see later on known as Wiccan and Speed. Yeah, he delivered their children, which I think is kind of interesting because I know he was formerly a surgeon before becoming the Master of Mystic Arts. I don't know if that necessarily means that he's the best bet for delivering babies, but that's what he did. He delivered Wanda's children, Tommy and Billy, and so seeing his relationship with Wanda and with the family of Wanda and Vision, I think it would be very, very cool to see Doctor Strange showing up, multiple times. Good old Uncle Stephen Strange, I just think it'd be really, really cool. And since we're talking about Doctor Strange and how he relates to the family unit that is Wanda and Vision, I think it would also be good to bring up numbers 2 and 3. Wiccan and Speed. Wiccan and Speed I'm hoping to see in WandaVision because they're the sons of Vision and Wanda, and since this show is going to start out very sitcom-y and in the 1950s, Leave It to Beaver, you know, that's what I'm thinking, like oh, Martha, oh, Greg, you know, I don't know. I don't even know who those names are. Martha! But I don't, I just thought it'd be nice to see some little scamps running around the old Scarlet Witch household. I don't know, it just seems, you know, kind of hunky-dory, seems fun. But I also hope to see them because they are an important part of Wanda's history. Visions as well, but I feel that there are much stronger ties to the Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch gave birth to these two kids, even though she kind of created them magically out of thin air. You know, she could have just like, voila, but she actually went through the labor pains of pregnancy and gave birth to them. And so because of that, it's something that I'd like to see her represent, getting a chance to actually see her be a mom on the show might be a lot of fun, very interesting, and then I think also heartbreaking and earth-shattering when we find out that the kids aren't real. You know, I don't know if we'll actually go through the comic iteration, you know, in the MCU, you know, in the comics. The kids, they're not just really, you know, out of thin air. It was Wanda's magic, but she created them unknowingly out of lost souls of Mephisto. And when Mephisto was gathering his souls back, he couldn't because they were touched by Wanda, and we saw these souls dispersed and resurrected, and that's how they became Wiccan Speed. That seems like a lot of convoluted stuff to happen, and I don't know if we'll be able to see all of that happen within the span of 6 episodes, but I'm still hopeful because Mephisto seems like a really good villain for, you know, Doctor Strange or Wanda. And furthermore, I really want to see a Young Avengers thing maybe happen. And it's likely that that can happen because we know there will also be a Hawkeye series and Kate Bishop will be featured in the series. So if we have Kate Bishop and we have Wiccan, we have Speed, we've got 3 members of the Young Avengers right there. So I'm hopeful, I am hopeful we'll see some Wanda and Vision children. Number 4, the Human Torch. No, not the Fantastic Four's Human Torch. The original Human Torch, Jim Hammond. I mentioned him a couple episodes back when we were talking about the comic Marvels. You remember that one? Did you watch it? Well, go back and watch it. Not right now. We're watching this one right now. You know, let's finish this. But when you're done, you know, you can watch Marvels, and I talk about the Human Torch there. But I'd like to see him show up in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just for 3 seconds in a little cameo. One, because he's already made a cameo in the MCU. We actually see the android that would become the Human Torch in a scene of Captain America: First Avenger. And that might be, honestly, my favorite Easter egg in the whole MCU. And since we know that android does exist in the MCU, wouldn't it be great to see him show up in the in the television show? Especially since the show is supposedly taking place in the 1950s. I just think it'd be cool to see some old school Marvel heroes around. Whether he shows up as the Human Torch, which might be weird since we know the Fantastic Four are actually coming to the MCU at some point in the future, but he may arrive as his human alter ego, Jim Hammond. Either way he shows up, I just like to see him arrive at some point. Why it matters also as it pertains to Wanda and the Vision specifically is because supposedly, there was a time when it was believed that the Vision's body was actually made up of components from the original Human Torch's body. created by Ultron, of course. That is not what happens in the MCU, obviously. We know that he's made from Iron Man armors, and his mind and personality was gifted to him, I guess, from the Soul Stone. But that's not how he was created in the comic universe. He was made up, supposedly. You know, there's been a lot of retcons and revamps and reboots, but there was a time when it was believed that Vision's body was made up of the original Human Torch. And since they have that link, I'd really like to see Jim Hammond, Human Torch, show up in WandaVision at some point. We've mentioned the body. I also mentioned the mind. Let's go into the mind as we talk about number 5. Wonder Man, aka Simon Williams, is the 5th person I'd like to see show up in WandaVision, because just as I mentioned, the body of the Human Torch was used to make the Vision, Wonder Man's mind is what gave Vision his thought patterns. You know, Vision was, or should I say, Wonder Man was originally a villain who was given his powers by Baron Zemo. He was bitter and wanted to exact revenge on Tony Stark and Stark Industries for ruining Williams' innovations, and this was how he was going to do it. And he decided to, he had a change of heart, and instead of attacking the Avengers or following through with the plan with the Masters of Evil to destroy the Avengers, he had a change of heart and foils Zemo's plan, which then leads to well, Simon Williams' death, because his really messed up ion-energized body could only be kept alive by Baron Zemo. And since he had turned on him, Zemo, well, basically let him die. But though his body died, Hank Pym preserved Simon Williams' mind, and Ultron got access to those files? I don't know. Got access to those brain patterns and used those brain patterns to give Vision his mind. Again, obviously, I already mentioned that's not how it happens in the MCU. He uses the Soul Stone, but Simon Williams almost appeared in the MCU already. In Guardians of the Galaxy 2, James Gunn had cast Nathan Fillion to play the role of Simon Williams, who would be an actor, because Wonder Man at one point pursued a career in Hollywood. And so I guess this was the version we were going to see until it was cut from the film. We actually, if you look them up, there's some really cool posters of fake movies. I'm not sure if I'm saying that accurately, but it's basically Nathan Fillion as Simon Williams, starring in a movie where he plays Tony Stark. So that's just like, so it's Nathan Fillion as Simon Williams as Tony Stark, just in case we get it. But the posters look really cool. It's something I would have really liked to seen, and it sucks that it was cut from the film, because I really would have enjoyed that. But maybe there's hope for Simon Williams to have a little acting career in WandaVision. Maybe we'll see, you know, the Vision Witch household just gathered around the old tube and watching some good old-fashioned Simon Williams TV show. I don't know. It's possible, right? It can happen. Also, we've seen that because in the comics, Vision and Mr. Williams share the same brain pattern. It would be interesting maybe to see a little love triangle, maybe another love interest for Wanda as Simon Williams shows up. Flashy, debonair man tries to win the heart of Scarlet Witch, maybe? No? All right, fine. Move on. Number 6, Grim Reaper. Not the Grim Reaper, although why not? But I'm not talking about the skeleton head with the scythe that comes to collect the souls and bring them to the afterlife. I'm talking about the supervillain Grim Reaper, who is actually Simon Williams' brother, Eric. And he is I want to say like he's a major Avengers villain. You know, like in the Avengers video game, like I'm quite sure he was only like boss number 2. Like, I think Whirlwind was number 1, Grim Reaper might have been number 2. I'm losing track. I'm sorry. I really enjoy that game and haven't played it in a long time, okay? But yes, he is Simon Williams' brother. And he becomes the Grim Reaper and becomes an Avengers foe because he blames the Avengers for his brother's death, as well as I already mentioned, blaming Tony Stark for the failure of Williams' innovation. So he just really has a lot of motivation to attack the Avengers and Tony Stark. But Tony's dead in the MCU. But still, because of his ties to the Avengers and his ties to Simon Williams, the Wonder Man, and also technically his ties to Vision, who he sees as a mockery, like a puppet, just like embracing, he's this fake version of Wonder Man and he's insulted by it. So his ties to the Avengers and Vision, it would be nice to see the Grim Reaper show up. Even if it's not the Grim Reaper, the supervillain Eric Williams, even if we get just, I don't know, some scary Grim Reaper appearance, some sort of signal of death, because Vision, last I checked, is dead. And I expect Wandavision to make some very scary, Twilight Zone-esque, just like little scary moments. Personally, I'm hoping to see some of these horror elements show up in WandaVision. I don't know if it's gonna arrive in the beginning. I don't know if it's gonna show up later on, like episode 4 or 5, but I'm looking forward to seeing these horror elements, and I hope that Grim Reaper is part of them. Number 7, Quicksilver. I don't really have a reason to want to see him back. But we have seen, we know Vision's gonna be in the show, and last I checked, Vision was dead. I've mentioned I wouldn't mind seeing the Grim Reaper, and if we're gonna be talking about elements of death, we might as well bring back, if she's going to have the power of bringing back people from the dead, why not bring back her own brother? We haven't seen Quicksilver since Age of Ultron, where he died on, was it Sokovia? Yeah. I had to be careful. I wanted to make sure I didn't say Wachovia, the bank. But I think it'd be really cool to see Quicksilver back. It'd be really interesting, especially since we have the X-Men eventually coming back. Once again, don't know when that will be, but it would be cool if Quicksilver was around for that. I don't know. Personally, I just think that'd be pretty dope. And it's not like Wanda hasn't brought people back from the dead before. Wanda has both killed and brought back Hawkeye from the dead. So there's definitely an ability, an untapped ability maybe to bring things to life or entering something from another reality into the current one that she embodies. We don't really know the full power and the full extent of Wanda's abilities. It hasn't been explored that much in the MCU yet. But if we can bring back Vision, why not bring back Quicksilver? Oh, just a thought. Let's move on to number 8. Bova. Bova is a cow woman who who lives in Wondergore, or lives on, or Transia. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where exactly to place that. We haven't seen a lot of anthropomorphic characters in the MCU just yet. I mean, even Ant-Man and Spider-Man, they're not actually insects and arachnids. Falcon's just a dude in a suit. But Bova, that can be our first animal person. And she was kind of the nanny of, she was kind of the nanny of both Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And we never actually got to see Scarlet Witch's origins. You know, she was, you know, when we first saw her pop up with Quicksilver, they were just like in a like glass or plastic cage of some sort. They were in some sort of cell, you know, doing their weird little mystical and speed powers. But we don't really know anything about her. And I'm not sure if Wanda's ever spoken about it in the MCU. In the comics, her birth mother ran away from her father, Magneto, and gave birth in the countryside of Transia, and their nursing Transia was Bova, the nanny. And she kind of has a history of being a nanny. A nanny. She was a nanny for the new men, the high evolutionaries, creatures. And so it would be very interesting to see Bova show up in some way, shape, or form in WandaVision. I'd like to see it. Also, I mentioned I'd like to see some horror elements, and I don't know, a bovine nanny creature sounds like horror fuel to me. So let's see Bova show up, Number 9, Agatha Harkness. Very important figure in Wanda's life, very much like Stephen Strange, maybe even more so than Stephen Strange, has played a mentor role to Wanda in the comics. And it seems to make the most sense that she appears in the show in some way, shape, or form, whether it be in a villainous role, in a teaching role, maybe she's a next door neighbor, maybe she's the mean lady who works at the library. I don't know where exactly she would fit in this sitcom world, but I would just like to see her. Maybe she could be a grandma. She could be Grandma Harkness. No, I don't know. But I would just like to see Agatha Harkness show up. She seems so important to Wanda and her life in the comics. It seems improper for her to be not represented in some way, shape, or form in the television series. Number 10. Joe, give me a drum roll. Enough. Magneto. Probably should have gave a hand signal. Hey, it doesn't matter. Magneto. And I say that knowing full well that it's not going to happen. It's not. There's no X-Men plans anytime soon. They're certainly not in Phase 4, and so I assume maybe Phase 5. I don't know. I don't know when. But it seems too early to introduce Magneto. But I would love to see at least maybe the back of his head. You know, is that too much to ask? You know, see a white-haired figure. Just who is this mystery man? It's so important to me. Why? I don't know. I'm spitballing here. Work with me. But it's her dad. Even though that's been retconned, when Fox had their Quicksilver, showing up in their movies and their X-Men movies. Meanwhile, Marvel had Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in their movies. It's like, how do we make this work? And in the comics, they retconned it so that, Wanda's not actually his daughter. That's nuts. But in my mind, that's most of my life. Magneto's been her daddy. And I'd like to see that represented in the show, please, or at least give me her birth mother. If I'm gonna settle, give me Magda. But my pick for number 10 is Magneto. I'd like to see some sort of reference that her dad's around or matters to her. Maybe Vision could say, how come I've never met your parents? And it would be wild, because we know, I know, we know. So that's my number 10. I'm also gonna give a very just random runner-up or honorable mention.
Joe!
No!
I should be 11?
Get out, Joe. Stay behind the camera where you belong. Call him once and now he wants to be part of the show. But I'd really like to see the goddess Venus show up. I know that seems random and weird, but since this is a show taking place in the 1950s, active in Marvel Comics at the time was the goddess Venus. She's not actually a goddess. That also got like retconned. She's not, but she was around, and she had returned to Marvel Comics as a member of the Agents of Atlas with Agent Jimmy Woo, who's gonna be. No, I can't do the drums myself, and I just shoot Joe away. I'm sorry, but yeah, Jimmy Woo's gonna be in the show. Why not have Venus showed up? And also, I figure the way I see it, if Wanda and Vision are going to be having a domestic life and not really playing superheroes, the 1950s is going to need some superheroes of their own. Venus is someone I'd like to see. She doesn't count though. She's not in my top 10, but I'd still like to see her. That's it. This rant is just about done. But it's only a rant because you haven't chimed in yet. And once you do, it's a conversation. Let's keep the conversation going. Comment below and subscribe to 2BSeeingCom. Why don't you hit the little alarm, hit the little bell that lets you know that when new videos have popped up. You can also follow us on Twitter at Comic Convo, COMICONVO. You can follow me at Lewis or Brandon on Twitter and Instagram, and ask any questions. Comment. Tell me what you like, what you didn't like. Share this video so your friends can see. Let's make sure the conversation never stops. I'm Brandon for Comic Convo. Goodbye.